Week 7, and we've got a big one today. 50 players to sort out. So before Sunday, let's break down these wide receiver rankings for Week 7 of the 2024 NFL season. Welcome to E&M Fantasy Football, where I combine industry-leading data, Vegas sportsbooks, and expert analysis to provide you with optimal weekly rankings for the utmost accuracy when setting your weekly lineups in your fantasy football league. I'm writing this on Wednesday night for Thursday's video. Expect more videos every week for the other unit groupings like running back, quarterback, and tight end. Click the playlist for all the rankings for Week 7. And to start off the top 50 wide receivers, full PPR, we have to mention the Bears and Cowboys are on bye. That being said, let's not waste time with the S tier. Justin Jefferson, 92 over-under versus Detroit, 27th best pass defense. Jamar Chase, 78 over-under versus the Browns, who are in shambles. St. Brown at 375 over-under versus the 30th worst Minnesota secondary. A.J. Brown at 478 over-under versus the Giants' 12th best secondary. Malik Neighbors, 76 over-under versus Philly, 21st best. Chris Godwin, oh baby, 69 over-under versus Baltimore's 31st worst secondary. Stephon Diggs, 70 over-under versus Green Bay, 25th worst secondary. And Drake London, 71 over-under versus Seattle's 10th best secondary. These guys, a whole bunch of them in the S tier this week, are the only ones projected by sportsbooks to go for 70 yards or more. Jefferson obviously being the outlier at 92. I mean, it goes from, 70 to 78, and then you got Justin Jefferson all on his lonesome at 92 yards. But I digress. Vegas tells us these top 8 wide receivers are in the best position for fantasy in Week 7. A tier begins with the other elite wide receivers. Vegas has these wideouts projected for about 60 receiving yards each. At 9, Deontay Johnson, 67 over-under versus Washington's 19th best secondary. He's the wide receiver 10 on wide receiver 4 usage. Carolina is 8th in the league in terms of fantasy wideout usage. Washington is 19th against the pass. Lock him in. He's averaged 76 yards in his last 4 contests, and Andy Dalton is going to be playing from behind in the highest scoring game of the week at 51.5 scoring total. Wow. DK Metcalf at 10, 66 over-under for DK. Seattle has the 3rd highest neutral pass rate in the league and is number 1 for fantasy points from wideout usage. ATL is 9th against the pass, but DK has averaged 78 yards per game. Pretty good. Scary Terry at 11. 6 out of 6 wideouts went over their projected yards when facing the 23rd worst Panthers secondary. His over-under set at 64 this week. Scary Terry is wide receiver 6 on wide receiver 12 usage. Super efficient. Lock him in. And Mike Evans at 12, 62 over-under. Mike Evans faces practically the worst secondary in the league, to reiterate from Godwin. While he's been volatile with more under 50-yard games than over, this is his best chance to go absolutely nuclear on the Ravens cornerbacks. For perspective, he's the wide receiver 23 in fantasy points and usage. So, Godwin's taken over. I know that's going to hurt some people's feelings, but Godwin has taken over. Zay Flowers at 13, 63 over-under for Zay, 111 and 132 yards in his last 2 games. The Ravens look like the best team in the NFL, and they get to boat race with the Buccaneers, who are 28th worst against the pass. Woo! Allowing 252 passing yards per game. Gonna be a heater. Gonna be a heater. 100%. Garrett Wilson at 14. 62 over under for Garrett Wilson. Over 100 yards in his last 2 games. But the arrival of Devontae Adams is most certainly going to give him the Devonta Smith treatment. Pittsburgh's 13th against the pass. I mean, for now, he's the wide receiver 9 on wide receiver 2 usage. I don't know. It's only downhill, if we're being honest, for Wilson going forward. And let's go back-to-back with Debo and Ayuk. Bang. 81 yards per game for Debo. Only 59 for Ayuk. Debo gets the extra touches from the backfield and will probably do a little bit better with picking up some of the slack from the Jordan Mason injury. But the truth is, either of these dudes can go for a 40-yard banger and blow up the absolute model. Chiefs are 20th against the pass. And for the last guy in this tier, ErvinandM.com. ErvinandM.com is my company my best friend and I started in 2020. We literally make everything ourselves by hand. We have earrings, rings, necklaces, bracelets, tie clips, apparel, and more. Over a dozen curated gemstones and 100 handcrafted products. If you need a gift or something special for yourself, use the promo code in the description, find something you love, and buy it today. Back to the video. We begin the B tier with more starters with projections between 50 and 60 receiving yards. However, the wideouts in this tier have virtually no ceiling. T. Higgins kicks it off. 65 receiving yards per game for T. Higgins. He's the wide receiver, 18 in points, but 6th in usage. The Bengals are 1st in neutral pass rate, tossing the ball at a 63% clip. They get the Browns, and it's going to be a slaughter. Burrow's going to be slinging that thing all over the field. Cooper Kupp? What? 65 over under? Mr. Triple Crown is supposedly back. Stafford and company get the Raiders' 7th best pass defense. I mean, there's no data or line to guide us definitively. So 18th, a wide receiver 2-ish rank is fitting for his much, much, much needed return. Devonta Smith at 19. 63 over under for Devonta. 75 receiving yards per game for Philly's number 2. Pretty good. He's a pretty good ball player. The Giants are above average against the pass, but they've allowed 100% of wideouts to go over their line in the past 4 contests. Lock him in. Tank Dell at 20. 59 over under. 57 yards in his last contest. 59 should be doable versus 25th worst Green Bay secondary. He should be fine behind Diggs in an absolute shootout. Jaden Reed at 21. 56 over under. Houston is the 4th best in defending the pass, and Reed is 13th in points by a fantasy wide receiver on 34 usage. Wow. Thanks to the Packers' league worst neutral pass rate, they are last at 43% passing on 1st and 2nd downs, and yet Love in the receiving core is still 10th in terms of fantasy usage. So, translation, they pass the ball a lot, but to everyone, and they tend to hand off the ball on 1st and 2nd down. So, everybody gets 60 yards, if they're lucky. Brian Thomas Jr. at 22. 54 over under for Brian Thomas. He's averaged 70 yards per game. More if you exclude the 27-yard game against the Bears that he just had. Every wideout has went over against the Pats this season. Also, I mean, they're 5-point favorites in spite of Drake May elevating the team. He should be okay. Tyreek Hill. Tragic. Truly. 56 over under. Against the Colts' 26th worst secondary. I don't know. It's only been 57 yards per game for Tyreek. He should be fine to get that, but this is not what you drafted this man for. Darnell Mooney, 55 over under. Darnell Mooney comes in at 24 this week. Mooney is wide receiver 20 on wide receiver 11 usage, thanks to Kirk Cochains, 7th in terms of neutral pass rate at a 57% clip. The Seahawks are 10th against the pass, but this contest with Seattle is going to be a shootout for sure, as the 2nd highest scoring total of the week at 51 points. Which brings us to the C tier and much higher volatility. Vegas has this group for roughly 40 to 50 yards, but with more concerns capping their ceiling. Mr. Cooper, the new Buffalo Bills wide receiver one. We don't know if he's going to play, but he'll definitely be their number one target if he does. It's even more of a crapshoot facing the Titans' number one secondary on the season. I don't know. I'd probably sit him this week, but if you're desperate, YOLO. Jordan Addison at 26, 50 over-under for Jordan. This is the third highest scoring game of the week at 50 points. Minnesota is favored by 2. Detroit has the 27th worst pass defense in the league. However, he's only played in 3 games for a 47-yard average per game, so I think his line and ranking is pretty fitting. J-Mo, 27. Jameson Williams, 46 over-under for J-Mo. He's wide receiver 32 in wide receiver 81 usage. Translation? He's been unbelievably efficient with 73 yards per game with only, get ready, 3 receptions per game. Minnesota is 30th worst against the pass. I mean, he could get 25 yards, but he could also go for over 100. JSN at 28, 50 over-under for JSN, 51 yards per game for JSN with nearly 6 receptions per game. It's much more normal than freaking J-Mo. Nobody passes the ball at a higher rate than the pass-leading Seahawks. Atlanta is 9th best against that pass, but JSN, he should get his 40 yards or whatever, no problem. Ladd McConkey, the 29th ranked receiver this week, number 1 for goofiest name. 45 over-under for Ladd. 43 yards per game for Ladd. Cardinals are 22nd against the pass, so, I don't know. He should hit his projection just fine. Wan'Dale Robinson at 30. 48 over-under for Wan'Dale. He's got 46 yards per game. Not bad, but the bad news is Malik is returning. And in his stead, in spite of Wan'Dale being 7th in wide receiver usage, he's 30th in fantasy points. So he's doing his job, but Daniel Jones and Demario Douglas at 31 straight from the ashes. 44 over-under for Demario. Got 58 yards per game in his last 4 contests, but 92 yards in his last game, his first with Drake May. I expect him to rise significantly after this week. We just need more data, and we should get plenty as they face the league's worst pass defense, the Jaguars. Jaguars, as Brandon Perna and British people say. Christian Kirk, 32. 43 over-under, 49 yards per game, albeit boom or bust, big time. It's either less than 40 or over 60. And he's done less than 40 more times than he's done over 60. The Pats are 24th against the pass this season, but Kirk is 31st in points on 21 usage. So, not efficient. And to make matter worse, Ingram is back. And he is absolutely going to obfuscate some of that volume. Which brings us to D tier. It's more 40s, but we're officially concerned. These guys are your last viable options. They're projected for the same, but they have the most going against them that lowers their floors and their ceilings. George Pickens at 33. 50 over-under for George. We got him low because, in spite of his 60 yards per game, check this stat. He is the wide receiver 56 in points. Already terrible. But 8th in usage. 8th in usage. He could be up here. He could be in the top tier. But he's not. His quarterback play and light jogging are making him one of the worst performing wide receivers in terms of fantasy points versus expected. Very bad. Very, very bad. Not good at all. Cortland Sutton at 34. 46 over-under for Cortland. Another super inefficient offense and wide receiver in spite of Bo Nix improving significantly over the past 2 weeks. Cortland is 34th for fantasy points, but 15th in usage. So, translation, he's a wide receiver 3 on wide receiver 2 usage. Jacoby Myers. I mean, he's averaged 55 yards per game. The Rams are about league average against the pass. He should get his 46 yards for his over-under line this week. He's their number 1 receiver. You know, the Raiders are openly blowing it up, though, and no one can really be that excited for Las Vegas right now. Unfortunate. Tyler Lockett. 46 over-under. Tyler Lockett comes in at 36 this week. 56 yards per game for Lockett. The only issue I see is the stout Atlanta pass defense coming in at 9th best so far this season. He's 39th for points and 24th in terms of usage, which is kind of what we expect from a good but aging veteran. Juju Smith-Schuster. Jesus, I can't even say his name. He comes in at 37, 39 over-under. He's wide receiver 59 for points with 84 usage. So, I mean, the Chiefs they're not throwing the ball that much. You know, he's had just 8 receptions for 130 yards in his first real full-time start. I don't know. I expect him to come back down to earth, but until Worthy takes over, Juju should be leading the way, even though it's, you know, not a lot. Xavier Worthy. Speaking of which, we'll just throw him in here next to him as well. He's been a full-time player, but you know, we can see what that looks like with his 44th rank for fantasy points versus 54 usage. So, I mean, he's been efficient, but brother, 2 receptions a game. It's just not going to cut it. 35 yards per game for Worthy so far. Not good. Not good. Romeo Doubs at 39. 43 over-under for Romeo. 43 yards per game for Romeo. To reiterate, the Packers' offense is pretty balanced, and when you couple that with how Love and the OC spread the ball around, it's hard for 5 players to eat. Everyone gets 40 or 50 yards, and somebody will lead all of them. So, I don't know. Flip a coin. Calvin Ridley at 40. The Bills are league average against the pass. However, 28 yards per game for the first-round pick. It means Tennessee is horrible. Not really Ridley. How horrible is Tennessee, you ask? Well, Ridley is 108th in fantasy points by a wide receiver on 70 wide receiver usage. So, why is his over-under set at 45, you ask? I don't know. Take the lower. Xavier Legette, 41. 42 over-under for Xavier, but only 29 yards per game in real life for Xavier. He's wide receiver 33 on points, but 46 for usage. So, I mean, he's been efficient. They need to get him the ball more, but they just don't. He averages just under, not even 3 receptions, like 2.7 receptions per game. I mean, it's a high-scoring game with Washington, and their secondary is below average. I mean, he's got a chance, but it's pretty much GL. And for the last tier, it's RIP. All right, borderline unstartable players, pure desperation. We'll go rapid fire. Drop a comment if you have a question about any of these or any of the top 50. Michael Pittman, Josh Downs, Christian Watson, Jalen Waddle, Michael Wilson, Dontavion Wicks, Khalil Shakir, DeAndre Hopkins, Jerry Jeudy, and anybody else that you want to throw in there. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Go to ervinandm.com and buy something. Thank you. Thank you for the support. Good luck. If you have anyone from D or E tier that you're slotting in for week 7, it's a minefield out there. All right, I will full screen your wideouts right now. It's quarterbacks and tight ends tomorrow, and if you missed the running backs, click the playlist and get caught up. I sincerely hope this helps everyone watching. Seriously, thank you for watching, and if you want to support me, support you, subscribe. Turn on the post notifications so you can see all the videos each week before submitting your lineups. It's free, okay? It's It's a good value. And if you want to support me, check out my store, www.ervinm.com. I have 2 passions, fantasy football, small business. We're a 2-man show at E&M. We take pride in the quality and craftsmanship of our products. There's no better way to support me than by buying a gift or something special for yourself. Everything is handcrafted from limited stock here in North Carolina. By us, by me, and my partner, me and him, with our own hands. We do it all. We do everything. We ship anywhere in the U.S. Don't forget to use the promo code. Thanks again if you're still with me. That's the video. Watch some more videos.